law career that he's had, it'll be very tough to kind of sum it up in a 2-hour film. I'm so excited to tell the story of this amazing person that I had the honor and pleasure of knowing.
What's up?
Hi Faridoon, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very good. This is the first time we're doing an interview like this, huh?
Yes, I think extraordinary. Times and extraordinary situations. So I believe you guys are working on a production for a series. I think on Ram Jethmalani.
No, it's actually a film. I mean, the final attempt and the final intent is to do a series, a show on Mr. Ram Jethmalani, because given his the lifespan that he's had and the amazing law career that he's had, it'll be very tough to kind of sum it up in a 2-hour film, and you would want to go into details of certain cases or certain times of his life. But for now, we realize that there is enough there to kind of tell a 2-hour film as well, and that's where the fight has been right now to get that screenplay right, and it's taken a long time. It's going to take a little bit more because we don't want to compromise on how that story should be. So yeah, first it'll be a film.
First it'll be a film. Okay, and who's starring it? Who's directing it?
Well, those things will follow once we have the correct screenplay in place.
Right.
So Ronnie Struhala's company, RSVP, and we have kind of joined hands to produce that. But the other aspects of that are yet to kind of be put together. I know it's taken a long time, and for us it's even more so because I'm so excited to tell the story of this amazing person that I had the honor and pleasure of knowing. But like I said, I mean, it has to be worth the wait.
And you've called him Salman Khan of the legal business.
Yeah, but, it was so interesting because I mean, I had growing up, I didn't know of Mr. Ram Jethmalani besides a couple of interviews that I'd seen of him, where he was debating. I always thought that he had a very strong personality, but it was later in life and when I started going to Delhi in the last decade actually, that I met a lot of friends who were in law. They were lawyers or their parents were lawyers, and we had a lot of common friends. And I used to always see that when they were discussing something, they would often talk about a case that Mr. Ram Jethmalani had fought or an argument that he had made. And I think everybody at some point had a kind of brush with him. And they all spoke about him like we talk about Salman Bhai, because he's been there and he's the big guy. And he is the biggest star. And I saw the similar kind of fondness and the similar kind of stardom that Mr. Ram Jethmalani had when he was talked about. So I was like, if I had to compare it to anybody in the film business, he's like the Salman Khan of the law world.
That's interesting. Okay, and he's a fascinating character. From a movie perspective, I think he's a fascinating character. A lawyer having a whiskey glass along with himself on live television with Radhir Sardesai.
Yeah, I mean, he's such an entertaining person.
So very, very interesting and entertaining guy. You can never think of him from this perspective that even at in the later part of his life, he was as young as it gets. His comments and his quotes and his mannerism
of course,
it's so entertaining.
Yeah, and I mean,
you can never look at him as an old man.
Never. I mean, he was younger at heart than all of us.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've had a few meals with him, and he liked his drink, and he knew what he wanted to eat, and then he wanted to have an ice cream at the end of it, and he was very particular. Sometimes he wanted casata or whatever he wanted, and I was and he never minced his words. He could hold a conversation in the most entertaining way, and he would know his audience, and he would know what to say to whom, and he was on his game all the time.
Yeah, and I think he has met some of the most controversial people. He has been in touch with some of the most controversial people, like Dawood Ibrahim, for example. I think that's something that's part of the folklore, and so many more. And even in terms of his political affiliations, he just kept on moving from one to another. So that can be, I don't know if that is.
He's had an amazing life. No, I'm telling you. I mean, I did not know all of this. I mean, I just knew the lawyer and the law that existed. But then we read the books, and then we met him, and then obviously we did the research as well. And then we realized that even in his personal life, there's so much that is not known, and there is so much that should be told. And I mean, the kind of life he has had. I've told you, he had about more than 70 years of a legal career. And I mean, I feel like the journey of India and his journey kind of went side by side.
Absolutely.
And he's been involved in some of the most talked about cases where he's defended or kind of been against some really big personalities. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, eventually when we do the series, we would like to get into, if we can, all of it and in as much detail as we can. But until then, the idea is to kind of put together a cracking screenplay that does justice to the legal and the personal life that he's had. Yeah.
Right. And who's going to direct it?
We don't know. I mean, Ansal Mehta is somebody that was considered for a very long time. But I don't know. I mean, we still have to kind of finalize it.